only word I can use to describe the spectacular view from the room. As I stood on the balcony, the sun glistening on the sea was like the sparkling of a freshly polished diamond. Each wave was like an outstretched arm, welcoming us, inviting us to come and have a swim. 2 outstretched arms later, I was changing my clothes and headed down towards the beach. Either sleep wasn't packed on this trip, or the nights in Jamaica were very short. Before I knew it, Saturday was present, and we were on our way to Ocherius. The plan was to hike the infamous Duns River waterfall. The sight was majestic. The water cascaded down the steep-like waterfall. The smooth flow of the water was very alluring. The big to test is flawed, I found out, for when I went full body in, the water was beastly cold. My first reaction was to secure a spot on land, but after the skillful motivation from my friend, we embarked upon the hike. I quickly realized that this fall was a lady of the seat. As we got higher, the water pressure got stronger. Where were the calm waters that had enticed us? The water was now gushing down on us hard. She must have viewed us as trespassers, for her waters began to protest our intrusion and sent us tumbling many times. However, like true warriors, we made it to the top, albeit sore. Our next adventure took us to the opposite end of the island in Portland, on a raft constructed entirely of bamboo, and on a river where the water was clear, but I still could see no bottom. I entrusted my life in the hands of a stranger. With swimming skills the opposite of Michael Phelps, I questioned my decision to go rafting on a river referred to only as El Rio Grande. However, after a few minutes along the channel, I decided that if I survived the brutal attack of Duns River, then surely I could make it in these calmer waters. Our raft had no sail, but was piloted by a solitary stick of bamboo. With some explanation by our guide, who was also the rafter, I quickly understood how to navigate the bamboo raft. With fair up bait, I stepped to the front of the raft to see what skills I had. We survived, so I guess I had some skills. The water of El Rio Grande was cool to the touch. We hung our feet across the raft and watched as our feet parted the water. We drifted in silence for a bit as we enjoyed the beautiful Jamaican sunset which was before us. It was now Monday, and we were headed into the capital. Our first stop was on Old Hope Road, the former residence of reggae legend Bob Marley. Being a lover of reggae music, this was the pinnacle of my trip. As soon as I entered the compound, I was greeted by the life-size statue of Bob Marley. The inner walls of the compound were a mural, comprising of pictures of Bob Marley at the different stages in his life. There was a family picture with his wife, Rita Marley, and also a picture of him and the Wailers. An old Land Rover, once driven by Bob, was also on display. Once inside the house, now turned museum, we were shown the different rooms once occupied by the Marley family. The gunshot holes in the walls of the house were also pointed out, as we were told of the assassination attempts on his life. In the yard, we are shown a garden, which it is alleged that Bob planted his own herbs. My attention, however, was focused on the locked door to the room which we weren't shown. The guide merely explained that behind the door was a studio that Bob children would frequently use once in Jamaica. The room where many hit songs were created. I was burning up with curiosity to see what was behind the door, but as I left the museum, I had to out that fire. Next, we were in Emancipation Park in New Kingston. Then we moved to the National Heroes Park. What feelings of nostalgia to be in these parks on Emancipation Day. The parks rich in history of our struggles to emancipation and honoring all the great leaders of that cause. Surely, there wasn't a better place for me to be. I went to bed that night exhausted. I had barely managed to shove all my belongings in a suitcase before passing out on the bed. When I awoke, our dark chariot was once again waiting for us to take us to the airport. We hurried into the airport and made a dash for the check-in counter. The race was on as we headed to clear immigration. We could hear our names being announced over the PA system. My friend zoomed through the metal followed closely behind me. I was shocked. The detector had went off. I had to remove my belt. On my second passage, it went off again. This time I was told to remove my shoes. Sandals, I thought, but I wanted to board the plane, so I complied. My third passage, off it went again. This time, it seemed to chant louder than before. I turned around, eyes glaring, and slowly I began to understand why this song was going off. I could recognize the walls of my room. I felt my bed below me. Like routine, I reached across my bed and turned off my alarm. It was now 6:30 Tuesday morning, and I had to get ready for work.